Jake Harlan had 2.7 million followers and a brand built on one word: fearless. He'd eaten fermented shark in Iceland, slept in a haunted Romanian forest, and once free climbed a skyscraper in Dubai, just to prove the guards couldn't catch him. Every thumbnail showed the same cocky grin, the same raised middle finger to superstition. So when the algorithm gifted him a trending Norwegian hashtag, #Trettendedagen, Jake saw dollar signs wrapped in snow. 13th Day of Christmas, he told his manager over satellite phone from Oslo. January 6th, locals say the dead walk, perfect for a 24-hour lockdown stream inside an abandoned stave church. Title it, I Spent the Night with Norwegian Demons, Gone Wrong. Will clear 8 figures in ad revenue alone. His manager tried to talk him out of it. The village, Vinterkvist, had no cell towers within 20 kilometers. The church, Hellestad, had burned once in 1789 and been rebuilt crooked, its dragon-headed roof beams blackened by centuries of candle smoke and something thicker. Every guidebook mentioned the warning in the same hushed sentence. After the 12 days of Christmas end, on the 13th night, the hidden folk take census of the living. If they count you, you stay counted. Jake laughed. I'll be the one doing the counting. Views, likes, subs. Book the chopper. January 5th, he landed on a frozen lake outside Vinterkvist. The pilot refused to shut the engine off. Pick you up at dawn, the man shouted over the rotors. Not 1 minute later. Jake gave a thumbs up for the drone shot and trudged toward the village with a sled of camera gear and enough Red Bull to kill a reindeer. The villagers watched from behind curtains. Children were called inside. An old woman spat on the snow as he passed. Jake waved. Love the authenticity, guys. At the single inn, a timber longhouse with a sod roof, the owner slid a key across the counter without a word. Room 13. Jake filmed it for the B-roll, laughing. Even the keys in on the joke. That night, he edited teaser clips. The comments rolled in before he'd even posted. Dead Lars 81, don't let them count you. Solvig 1963. They know your name now. Jacob Harlan. Eshknut Frozen 1989. 3 knocks, then silence. Do not answer. He screenshotted the creepiest ones. Early troll game is strong, he told his live chat. 50,000 viewers already, 24 hours before the lockdown. The dead accounts had 0 followers, profile pictures of gravestones, or empty black circles. He pinned the best warnings, like badges of honor. January 6th, 4:00 p.m. Sunset already bleeding out behind the mountains. Jake harnessed 3 4K cameras, a thermal, and the new spectral lens his sponsor sent, for ghosts that don't show up on normal light. He kissed the crucifix tattoo on his wrist, for the thumbnail irony, and set off. The path to Hellestad Stave Church climbed through pines so dense, the snow fell in slow motion. No footprints but his own. The church crouched at the end, like a beast that had learned to pray. 32 carved dragon heads jutted from the eaves, mouths open, tongues lolling toward the ground, as if tasting the air for sinners. Jake muscled the iron-bound door. It opened with a sound like a coffin lid. Inside, the air was warmer than outside. Wrong. Breath should have plumed. Instead, it vanished. The pews were gone, replaced by a single ring of 13 tall candles, each flame the color of old bone. Someone had lit them recently, wax pooled in perfect circles. He laughed it off for the camera. Local pranksters giving me production value. Respect. He set up in the chancel. Main camera on tripod, GoPro on chest, drone hovering for wide shots. The stream title glowed red. Hellestad, midnight, 24-hour, demon challenge. At 6:00 p.m., the chat exploded. 180,000 concurrent. At Deadlarzer 81. 13 candles for 13 souls. Solveig 1963. You were told Jacob, with AK. Knut, Frozen 1989. Count the dragon heads. They're missing one. Jake zoomed on the carvings. 31 dragon heads. He laughed nervously. Chat's doing AR tricks already. Nice try. He lit his own LED panels. The light flattened everything wholly out of the church, made it look like a Halloween haunt. He felt better. Plastic and wires. He understood those. PM. The candles hadn't burned down at all. Wax still pooled, flames motionless. Jake killed the LEDs for drama. Let the bone flames do the work. His face flickered green in the night vision feed. He told the story viewers already knew from the teaser. The hidden folk, the census, the 13th day. Then he dared them. If there really are ghosts, show up before midnight. I've got 400K people watching. Embarrass me. The chat lagged. For 9 seconds, the entire stream froze. Every viewer saw the same frame of Jake mid-sentence. Mouth open, one eye reflecting something behind him. When video resumed, new accounts flooded in. At Mari Vinterqvist, 1942. We waited for you. At Eric drowned in 1809. The lake remembers. Astrid burned, 1989. Fire didn't take us all. Jake read them aloud, voice cracking on the last one. Okay, chat. Who's got the deepfake bot? This is next level. 10:00 p.m. He needed to pee. The church had no bathroom, just a wooden bucket in the corner that hadn't been there earlier. He laughed, filmed himself using it for the authentic medieval experience bit. When he turned back, the bucket was gone. Wet prints led toward the altar and stopped. He zoomed the thermal. Cold spots bloomed like flowers, opening in reverse. 7 p.m. The drone battery died mid-air. It shouldn't have. He'd charged it an hour ago. The drone clattered onto the floor and lay on its back, propellers still spinning, camera pointed at the ceiling. On the feed, every dragon head had turned downward. 31 carved eyes stared straight into the lens. Jake's laugh came out high. Gotta be magnets. Locals rigged the roof. He climbed the narrow stairs to the loft to check. The wooden beams were slick with frost inside. His gloves stuck. When he breathed, the frost melted into perfect letters. Jacob with a K. He ran down so fast he missed the last step and landed hard. The chat counter rolled backward. 400K, 399K, 398K, dropping one viewer every second. 47 p.m. The bone flame candles rearranged themselves while he watched. No wind, no drafts. They formed a perfect circle around him, 1 foot beyond the camera frame. He stepped over. They slid closer. He stepped back. They followed. He whispered to the stream, "Okay, I'm freaked. Happy now?" The chat answered in unison, every single line identical, scrolling too fast to read individually, but impossible to miss. Don't let them count you. Midnight. The candles guttered all at once. Not out, sideways, flames bending 90 degrees toward the door. The iron latch lifted by itself. Snow breathed in. Jake grabbed the crucifix tattoo, realized it was just ink, and backed against the altar. The thermal camera showed 13 heat signatures stepping into the circle. Human-shaped, but the cores were colder than the air. Absolute zero, black. He tried to end the stream. The button grayed out. 2.7 million viewers now. Every dead account from the last 24 hours had returned, posting the same live reaction, a single emoji of an open eye. A voice spoke, not through speakers, but inside the bones of his ears. Norwegian first, then English, layered like a choir that had never learned harmony. Jake Harlan, you were warned. He found his voice. I'm not staying. This is my stream, my rules. The heat signatures knelt, one by one, heads bowed, counting. The first began. N. Jake bolted. He leapt the candle ring, slipped on wax, crashed through the door into the night. The cold hit like a wall after the church's wrong warmth. He ran blind, chest cam bouncing, drone left behind, main camera still live on its tripod inside. Behind him, the church door stayed open. On the unattended feed, viewers watched the 13 figures stand again. They walked out of frame, but the candles kept burning, flames now pointing after Jake like compass needles. He hit the tree line. Pines clawed his face. The path was gone, snow hip deep. His phone had no signal, but the stream counter kept climbing. 5 million, 10 million, impossible numbers. The counting followed him through the woods, voices multiplying, some child high, some ancient. 2. Trey. He screamed into the void. I'm not one of you. Between trees, he saw shapes keeping pace. Tall, stretched, wearing clothes from centuries of funerals. Every footstep they took left no print. Fire. Femme. He tripped, rolled down a ravine, landed against ice. A lake. The frozen lake the chopper had used. Dawn was still 7 hours away. The pilot wouldn't come. Sex. Jake crawled onto the ice. It groaned under him, black water moving beneath, like something turning in sleep. Sieve. He looked back. The church was a mile away, but the open door glowed bone flame orange. 13 silhouettes stood on the shore, waiting. Atta. He realized the counting wasn't reaching 13. It kept going, starting over, including him, each time they began again. Ni. He pounded the ice with frozen fists. Stop it. I'm alive. Tien. A hand broke the surface beneath him. Small, blue, fingers webbed with ice. It grabbed his ankle. More hands followed, dozens, pulling. 11. The ice cracked. He clawed backward, but the hands were patient. They'd waited centuries for someone arrogant enough to be counted twice. 12. Jake's chest cam caught his face for the last time, eyes wide, mouth open in a scream that never came. The water closed over him. On the abandoned tripod feedback in Hellestad, the candles realigned themselves into a perfect 13. The 30-second dragon head had grown overnight, carved from fresh pine, mouth open in mid-scream. The name beneath it, still wet with sap, Jake Harlan. The stream never dropped. It kept rising. 50 million, 100 million. Every new viewer saw the same pinned comment, posted from Jake's own account at 0013 a.m. Don't let them count you. The chat scrolled endlessly, millions of lines, all identical, posted by accounts that would be dead by morning. The church door closed by itself. The candles went out. Somewhere under the lake, the census continued. They had all the time in the world, and now they had one more voice to keep the count going. Forever. Eleanor was 7, the winter the snowman learned her name. It started innocently enough. The first real storm of December dumped 2 feet of wet, packable snow across the hollows of Blackthorn Ridge, and Ellie begged her father to help her build something taller than she was. Daniel, home on leave from Fort Drum, couldn't say no to those gray eyes. They rolled and patted and carved until the thing stood 9 feet high in the side yard, a lopsided giant wearing Daniel's old patrol cap and a scarf Ellie had knitted herself, uneven stitches the color of arterial blood. That night, the temperature plummeted. Pipes sang. The wind howled like something hungry. Ellie pressed her nose to the frosted window and waved at the snowman. Its carrot nose glowed faintly orange in the porch light. She thought it waved back. Morning came white and hushed. Daniel found the first set of prints. They began at the snowman's base, 2 deep oblong holes where its weight had settled, and marched straight across the yard toward the house. 10 yards, 15. They stopped directly beneath Ellie's bedroom window. The snow packed hard, as if something had stood there a long time. But there were no prints leading away. Just those 2 hollows, side by side, staring up at the glass. Wind must have covered the return tracks, Daniel said, but his voice carried the uncertain note men get when they're lying to themselves. Ellie didn't think it was the wind. She thought the snowman had come to check on her. Day 2, the prints reached the porch steps. Day 3, they touched the siding. Each dawn, the snowman stood closer, dragged or walking, who could tell, until its shadow fell across the kitchen table at breakfast. Ellie started leaving gifts, a cookie on the windowsill, a crayon drawing of the 2 of them holding hands. The offerings vanished by morning. Crumbs on the snow, paper gone. Daniel nailed the window shut. He told his wife Mara it was because of the cold. Night 4, the power failed. The house dropped into a darkness so complete it felt like drowning. Ellie woke to the sound of breathing on the other side of the wall, slow, patient, damp. She crept to the window and peeled back the curtain. The snowman was right there. Its button eyes had fallen out sometime during the night. Empty sockets stared straight into hers. Frost spider-webbed the glass between them. Then, deliberately, it lifted one branch arm and traced a single letter on the pane. Ellie's breath fogged the glass. The snowman wrote another letter. She stumbled backward and screamed. Daniel came running with the shotgun he swore he'd never keep loaded in the house. He flung open the front door, bare-chested against the Arctic air, and fired both barrels into the thing's chest. Snow exploded in a white geyser. The recoil knocked him on his ass. When the smoke cleared, the snowman still stood, a ragged hole straight through it, moonlight shining clean through the cavity where a heart should have been. It tilted its head, as if puzzled by the noise. Then it stepped over the threshold. Mara's scream was cut short when the scarf, Ellie's scarf, whipped out like a living thing and looped around her throat. Daniel lunged, slipped on the ice-slick floor, and the stock of the shotgun cracked against his temple. He went down hard. Ellie backed into the hallway. The snowman followed, dragging its base with a sound like bones grinding. Frost radiated from it in waves. The wallpaper curled and blackened. It left wet prints on the hardwood, prints that steamed. In the dark, Ellie heard her father groan, heard her mother choke, heard the soft, wet thud of something being pulled across the floor. She ran upstairs and barricaded herself in the attic. Hours passed, or minutes. Time had frozen solid. Eventually, the house grew quiet, except for the drip of melting snow running down the stairs. At dawn, she crept out. The front door hung open. A trail of slush led from the porch to the yard, where the snowman had originally stood. It was back in its place now, pristine, repaired, the hole in its chest filled with fresh snow the color of bone. Daniel's patrol cap sat crooked on its head. Mara's wedding ring glinted from the end of a twig finger. And around its neck, knotted tight, was Ellie's red scarf, stretched impossibly long, as though it had grown to fit something much larger than a child's snowman. Ellie never built another one. She told the police her parents left in the night, that they must have wandered off confused in the storm. The search teams found 2 sets of footprints leading into the woods behind the house. They followed them for miles until the tracks simply stopped, side by side, in a clearing where the snow was untouched, except for those final hollows. No return prints, of course. 23 years later, Ellie Brooks lives alone in that same house on Blackthorn Ridge. She keeps the yard bare, salted and raked clean even in winter. Children in town say if you walk past after dark, you can hear something scratching at the windows from the inside. Slow, patient circles that spell the same 2 letters over and over. EL. They say if you stand still long enough, the scratching stops, and something on the other side of the glass starts writing your name instead. Ellie doesn't correct them. She just smiles the thin, careful smile of a woman who still leaves a cookie on the sill every Christmas Eve. She knows it's almost tall enough now, almost ready to come in and stay. Eleanor had never liked Christmas. Too many lights, too many people pretending the year had been kind. But when the lawyer handed her the keys to Grandma Ruth's house on Ash Street, he also handed her 12 cardboard boxes labeled, in Ruth's spidery copperplate, "Fragile Christmas." "Your grandmother wanted you to have them," he said. "Every last one." Eleanor almost told him to keep them. She was 33, childless, freshly divorced, and the idea of dragging someone else's nostalgia into her bare apartment felt like punishment. Still, she loaded the boxes into the trunk and drove north through December sleet, the wipers beating out a rhythm that sounded like blame. The house smelled of cedar and dust and something metallic she couldn't name. She left the boxes stacked in the foyer and slept on the couch fully dressed, boots still on, as if readiness might protect her from whatever waited upstairs. Morning came gray. She brewed coffee in Ruth's percolator, the glass knob blackened with decades of use, and finally opened the first box. Inside, wrapped in yellowed tissue, lay an angel, no longer than her thumb. It was carved from something smoother than wood, warmer than porcelain. Ivory, maybe. The wings were delicate lattices, the face serene. On the back, etched so finely she needed a magnifying glass, 12/24/1953. Eleanor frowned. Grandma Ruth had been 20 that year. She set the angel aside and reached for the next ornament, a miniature rocking horse, same material, date on the runner, 12/23/1961. Then a tiny ballerina, arms on point, 2/22/1978. She unwrapped them faster, lining them up on the coffee table like evidence. Nutcracker, 12/21/1985. Drum, 12/25/1990. Snowflake, 12/24/2000. Each one perfect, weightless, the color of old piano keys. 12 ornaments, 12 dates, all Christmas Eves or Christmas days, stretching across 70 years. She told herself it was coincidence. Old people loved dates. Grandma Ruth had simply marked the year she bought each piece. But the material bothered her. It wasn't ivory. Ivory had grain. This was seamless, almost moist to the touch, and when she held the angel to the window light, she thought she saw the faint shadow of Marrow. That night, she couldn't sleep. The house creaked like an old ship. At 2:17 a.m., she went downstairs with her phone flashlight and opened the last box. The one Ruth had wrapped in red ribbon and sealed with wax. Inside was a single ornament she had never seen in childhood photographs. A small, naked child, curled into a fetal position, knees to chest, head bowed. The detail was obscene: eyelashes, fingernails, the soft crease behind each knee. The surface gleamed wetly, as if freshly born. On its back, the date was tomorrow, 25/2024. Eleanor dropped it. The figure hit the hardwood and should have shattered, but it only rolled, coming to rest against her bare foot like a pet. She screamed then, short, sharp, ashamed, and ran upstairs, locking the bedroom door, even though she was alone. In the morning, she called the police. Detective Harlan came, polite and cold. He turned the child ornament over in his gloved fingers. "Bone," he said. "Human bone. I'd bet my pension. But we'll need the lab." He asked about the other dates. Eleanor watched his face change as he typed them into his phone. V3. Margaret Darby, 19, vanished from a midnight mass in Worcester. 61. Timothy Wren, 8, taken from his bedroom Christmas Eve. 78. Lydia Cho, ballerina, disappeared after Nutcracker rehearsal. Every date matched a missing person case, all unsolved, all within a 100-mile radius. Harlan looked at the curled child again. "Whose bones are these, Ms. Whitaker?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But my grandmother died 3 weeks ago, peacefully, in this house." The detective sealed the ornaments in evidence bags. He told her not to leave town. That night, the power went out. The furnace died with a cough. Eleanor sat in the dark living room, wrapped in 3 blankets, watching the streetlight flicker across the empty mantel, where the ornaments had hung for as long as she could remember. She heard footsteps on the stairs, slow, bare feet on wood. She told herself it was the house settling. Old houses lie. The footsteps crossed the foyer, stopped. "Eleanor." Grandma Ruth's voice, but wrong, like a recording played underwater. Eleanor's phone was dead. She clutched the fireplace poker and crept to the doorway. Nothing there. Only the boxes, lids open like hungry mouths. She saw the child ornament lying in the center of the rug. It hadn't been there an hour ago. The evidence bag lay torn beside it. The little bone figure uncurled, its head rotated 180 degrees with a soft click, click, click. Where the face should have been was only smooth skull, but Eleanor felt it looking at her. It stood, no taller than a candle, and began to walk toward her on matchstick legs. She swung the poker. It passed through the figure as if through smoke, but the impact jarred her wrist hard enough to bruise. The child stopped an inch from her knees, tilted its head. Then it spoke with her own voice, small and wondering. "Why didn't you come visit, Ellie? I waited every Christmas." Eleanor backed away until the wall caught her shoulders. "I was busy," she said, the excuse tasting like rust. "I'm sorry." The bone child smiled. Where the mouth should have been, the skull split, revealing tiny teeth sharpened to points. "Grandma kept us company," it said. "She fed us stories. She fed us light. But stories rot. Light burns out. We need new marrow." It reached for her with hands no bigger than acorns. Eleanor ran. She made it to the front door, fingers scrabbling at the deadbolt, but the metal was ice and wouldn't turn. Behind her, more footsteps, dozens, pattering down the stairs like rain. She turned. They were all there. The angel, the rocking horse, galloping in place, the ballerina spinning until her legs blurred. The nutcracker's jaw clacked open and closed, open and closed. 12 small skeletons made of themselves, advancing across the rug in a wave. She screamed again, louder, and the windows rattled, but no one came. Ash Street was asleep under snow. The bone child reached her first. It climbed her jeans like a squirrel, fingers hooked in denim, and pressed its smooth forehead to her throat. "Shh," it whispered. "It only hurts until the carving starts." She felt the first cut at her collarbone, delicate, precise, the way Ruth used to slice the skin off apples in one long spiral. Eleanor's knees buckled. She fell among them, the circle closing. The last thing she saw was the mantel clock striking midnight. Somewhere in the walls, the furnace roared back to life. Christmas morning dawned white and silent. The boxes in the foyer were gone. The evidence bags, the torn plastic, everything vanished. Detective Harlan knocked at 9. No answer. He let himself in with the key he'd kept. The tree was decorated. 13 ornaments now. He recognized the newest one immediately. A woman in a nightgown, arms outstretched as if embracing the air. The face was turned away, but he knew the curve of the neck. On the back, etched in Ruth's beautiful copper plate, 25, 2024. Under the tree lay a note in the same hand. "For my granddaughter." Every last one. Harlan drew his weapon, though he didn't know what he planned to shoot. The ornaments began to sing, not with voices, bone can't speak, but with the wind moving through their hollows, a soft, tuneless lullaby that sounded almost like forgiveness. He backed out of the house, locked the door, and called for a warrant. But the warrant never came. The house burned that night. Electrical fire, they said. Old wiring. By New Year's, Ash Street had a for sale sign. The realtor lists it as charmingly preserved, original woodwork, move-in ready. Sometimes late at night, prospective buyers hear bells. They think it's wind chimes. They're wrong. They're invitations.